Oh, all right. Good evening again, everybody who has joined us so far, and special welcome to Rahul and Reema for making time for this. Thank you so much for doing it. So, just to set the context, we wanted to do an event on sales, careers, and that's something that we have done previously as well with a few of our other sales experts. And generally, we speak a lot about how to land your target role, how to build a career in a new field. That's usually the area we focus on. Today's session is going to talk about that, but I think we also want to move beyond just talking about landing a role and focusing more on how to become an actual sales leader or top 1% sales professional in your field. And the reason for that is, we have come across a lot of people who come to Pivot and seek guidance, support on their career advancement, not just their transition to a new role. And when we talk about advancement, it's not always just pay and title. I think it's a lot about your capabilities as a sales professional to achieve ambitious goals, right? And one thing that we have seen with the advent of new technology in AI/ML, and also certain other improvements that have happened in how sales is done, people are setting more and more ambitious goals from a growth standpoint. And for that, you need to be able to understand what is not working to be able to focus on things that can work and help you achieve those goals. So that's what we want to focus on in today's session. Glad to have Reema and Rahul for that. And just what we can do is start by sharing a quick background about each of us. So I'll go first, and then I'll turn it over to Reema and then Rahul as well. But for those who don't know me, I am the founder of Pivot, which is a startup that helps people make career transitions and achieve their target role. So if you're thinking about changing your domain, your industry, your level in the organization, for example, going from IC to a manager or leadership role, these are some of the key areas that we focus on. And our end goal is to help you land your target role. And the way we do it, it involves a few different solutions, one of which is connecting you to industry experts in your target role for one-on-one mentorship and guidance. Reema and Rahul are both experts at that. They have been partnering with us on this front, and we are very thankful for them to be supporting a lot of these individuals who come to our platform to seek support. Um, but yeah, that's a bit about me and about Pivot. Now I want to turn it over to Reema. Reema, welcome again. And if you could just start by sharing a brief background of your journey so far, that would be great.
Thanks, Arjun. Uh, well, I'm Reema. I have now close to 18 years of work experience. My career journey, and this is very similar to what Pivot does, also has taken a lot of uh, different changes from one field to the other. So I started my career life in data analytics, where I was a data analyst, a business consultant rather, helping companies give insights based on a lot of data analytics. From there, I moved to a product manager role, uh, majority in telecom, where I was designing the product and doing a complete go-to-market campaign around the products. Post that, I decided I wanted to try something new, and that's when I moved to a sales role. So my initial years have been more around uh, analyzing data, doing marketing campaigns, using that data to do marketing campaigns. And then I moved to something, quite different. I moved to sales. Initially, I was doing what everybody does in the beginning, doing ground sales, running around. And then I moved to different senior leadership roles in sales. I also touched upon mergers and acquisitions, but now I'm heading operations for OYO USA. So that's been pretty much what my career journey looks like.
Perfect. All right. So definitely something that we at Pivot really appreciate, because that's what people are looking for, not just somebody who has been in one domain and just rising through that. I mean, that experience is helpful, but especially when you have made these kind of non-linear moves, I think that's where people really start to resonate, because a lot of them are contemplating similar things. So thanks for sharing that, Reema. Rahul, please go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thanks, Arjun. So I'm Rahul, and I have about 15, 16 years of work experience totally as of now. again, a very similar career trajectory as Reema. I started out as a software developer in my first job, which was about 2 years. I was a software developer. Then I moved into a business analyst role for another 2 years. And then I made another transition. I did my master's in business administration. And post that, I joined in as a program manager for a period of 2 to 3 years. Post which I got into a consulting role at PwC. So where I was a senior consultant as in the data and the analytics practice. So that is where I actually got to actual client facing consultative selling role. It was not just pure sales, but it was a mix of consulting, solution proposals, and a bit of sales. Around at that time, I got a very interesting opportunity from my current company, which is Zoho. So Zoho at that point was trying to scale, move really into the enterprise business space, um, and that is when they were looking out for people with that background. I got that opportunity through one of my alumni, and that's how I actually got into sales. Like till then, I didn't really have an exact sales role, but that was my starting point. Joined Zoho about 5 years. It has been a very fulfilling journey here, where I was able to set the enterprise business practice for the India team, and it's been a good journey till now.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I think the first thing that I wanted to discuss, and this is something which I think only a professional who has been in the field for some time would know what's going on. But just general career trends in the recent times have really started to evolve over a period of time, right? Like if you look at even pre-COVID times, things were generally more traditional business as usual in terms of how people were seeking certain career goals, right? For example, even in sales, it was usually about just working hard, rising up the career ranks, achieving your targets, and then trying to get a promotion or pay raise and those kind of things, right? Since
Mhm.
COVID has happened, there are multiple things that have changed on the horizon for not just sales professionals, truthfully for everybody, but especially for sales professionals. I mean, one of the biggest things that has happened is the advent of AI since then, right? For that, I think there are two types of impact that has taken shape. One is how do people utilize AI tool to be more productive in their own careers, and the second is this potential risk of job loss because AI could take your job, right? And so how do you future proof yourself because of that technology? This is one major trend. The other thing is obviously there was great resignation where people were resigning because they thought they could get something better at a time when the job market was very hot. And today it's the complete opposite. Over the last 1 year there has been a lot of layoffs, right? So people are still grappling with what's happening in the job market and how to really navigate it, because sometimes you have so many different options and then very quickly things change and you're on the other side of the table where you don't really have many options. So the basic point that I want to boil down here is that there is a lot of new trends that have come up in the career front, and it's made it more tricky, a little more challenging for people to understand what decisions are the best for them from a professional standpoint. So, Reema, the question here for you is firstly, what kind of trends? I mean, some of the ones that are the big ones I've already talked about, but in your view and your experience, what are some of the key sales career related trends that you are seeing, which more and more professionals at a junior and mid level are thinking about incorporating as they want to advance in the career?
Yeah. So Arjun, like you rightly said, things have evolved a lot post-COVID, and it's not just because of I would say COVID, but it's also to do with a lot of comfort that people have started getting, online, uh, through the online channels. Meetings, which always used to be more physical in nature, has suddenly become more virtual, and virtual meetings has become a reality. Like, I'll give you an example. Till pre-COVID, I would have never thought that I'll do a sales negotiation meeting over computer screen, but that has that has now become very, very real. People prefer now rather to meet online than actually physically meeting them. That said, I would say the way sales is being done now is very different versus how it used to get done earlier, both because of the digital world, because of the comfort people get with the digital world, and secondly, like you rightly said, because of a lot of AI tools that are developing. So when I talk about the AI tools, uh, primarily where we can use AI is one, and that's what I think is the most important role of AI in sales. That is lead generation. So lead generation can be through your own website, it can be through the different social media platforms, it can be through different ads you run, and there are a lot of AI tools that are presently there which can help you get better leads. So just to give you an example, you can use chatbots on your particular website, guide the customers who are coming to your site, and increase the number of leads that you're getting there. Similarly, you can use a lot of AI tools to make personas on the different social medias, decide which one you want to target, because the data is huge. You don't know who to target, how to target. For that matter, you can use chat gpt to make your campaigns, you can make your social media campaigns through that, you can make your ad campaigns through that. uh, Use different AI tools to um, do a lot of database management, because now, like you said, the data is huge. You get data from online channels, you get data from different media platforms. So how to manage that data? So AI is taking up a lot of roles. So how it helps, or rather how it's changing the career of a salesperson, is because now it's become very, very important for a salesperson to be updated with these tools, to have an idea, to think out of the box. The lead generation is not limited to getting a database, picking up the phone and telecalling and generating a lead. That is no longer the norm. It's changed a lot. People are using more innovative ways of generating leads. People are using more effective ways of generating leads, and using these tools in their sales process. So one, you have to be aware of what's happening around in your environment. You need to know, you need to get out of the traditional ways of selling. Be more aware of what the your customer is doing, how he is uh, tuning himself to the environment, and of course adapting yourself to that. That said, these are just ways of selling. If you talk about the other trends of sales, the basics remain the same. You have to generate the funnel, the lead funnel, you have to monitor the lead funnel, and you have to do the closure. So while the basic nuances of sales remain the same, how you are doing sales is obviously evolving a lot. Like I said, both because things have become more virtual, and there are a lot of different tools that have been developed to manage your entire sales cycle.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's very helpful, Reema, and I think that's just kind of touching the surface. We'll go more deep into exactly how do you do those things that you're talking about, leveraging AI for lead generation and other things. But I think it sets the stage for what has really changed and what are some of the things that sales professionals should be focusing on as they deal with this new frontier of AI, and also thinking about changing your domains or industry is another thing that we have been seeing a lot. So Rahul, similar question to you as what we asked Reema about new career trends. But just one thing that I wanted to ask is, right, in addition to that question, is a lot of times people are also coming to us today and asking about staying within sales but changing their industry. So going from, let's say, a non-tech background to a tech industry, especially B2B SaaS, since that is one of the major industries that hire sales professionals. Um, if there's something that you could shed light on that particular topic as well, and perhaps any other trends that you feel are important to discuss, that would be great.
Yeah. So I see. To be fair, I myself have recruited people who had a non-technical background, but had a sales profile in my teams. Okay. So what matters is first whether you have been in sales. So if you are planning to change industry, but you have already been in sales, that's like half the battle done, right? So you know how to sell. Now the question comes is your target audience is going to be different. You may be from a different industry, from a manufacturing background or from a retail background. But when you come to the technology background, selling process remains the same, but the audience who are going to sell to is going to differ. That's one. That's a change that you have to navigate. And number two, you need to speak in the language of the your intended audience, right? So near move, making a move to tech, the most difficult part is getting accustomed to the technology the terminology, the technical terminology, the type of solution that your company or your target company is operating in. So that is where you need to put in some effort to understand the technical aspects of your solution. That requires some amount of effort. So especially at when you are at a senior position, um, even though you might not need to get deep into the technical jargon or the technical know-how, you still need to grasp the overall essence of what your solution is offering in terms of meeting the requirements of your audience. So that is actually a learning curve. I generally seen that people who are comfortable with selling do face the challenge of overcoming this learning curve. So if you are going to make this transition, you have to be ready to accept that these challenges are going to be there, especially when when you have more than 10 or 12 years of experience. You again need to go back to your basics, try to put in that additional effort to get to really come fast to that level that is expected out of you.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I've also seen cases where people weren't able to do that, and after a period of a year or so, they kind of become frustrated and dejected, and they can go back to their previous role or the previous industry. So
Mm-hmm.
this, whoever is wants to make this transition, they have to get this thing into their mind. So that
Mm-hmm.
the challenge will surely be there.
Got it. Got it. And Rahul, I think if you can also just talk about any larger trends that you have seen sales professionals are
Mhm.
grappling with. I mean, Reema talked about, AI, and perhaps that's another area that you may have seen at Zoho
Yeah.
yourself. But anything else, in addition to that, that you would like to share with the audience?
So of course, as Reema pointed out, there are lots of AI tools in the market. So going ahead, there is actually not much of an excuse to not know these tools. Um, in some ways, these tools have made outreach much more easier. Few years back, getting the right template in to sell to use for the outreach was always a challenge. It comes with trial and error and so on. But with AI tools, it's way more easier to generate a very catchy template, email template, or a conversation template that can act as a base, right, upon which you can always build up and refine it as time becomes. Moreover, another aspect I've seen is there are a lot you have access to a lot of data. All right, so even at early stage of your career in sales, you need to get very very comfortable with crunching this data, right, to
Hmm.
get the insights out of it. As I said, there are so many tools in the market. It's not just restricted to Excel like it was a few years back. So there are lots of tools in the market where you can make sense of data, especially the your own customers' data. So that aspect helps you to personalize a lot of interactions that you can have with your prospects and your leads. And this is what kind of sets apart the salespeople who are just early into their career. So even in my team, I have certain people who are able to very comfortable with crunching numbers, very comfortable in getting the insights out of the data, and crafting a really personalized template for the the customers and the prospects, and they all actually get better results. In the long run, I've seen such people a little above the rest, cut above the rest, as they say, among the other employees, and this really helps them to stand out and progress faster in the career. So now you have to become very comfortable with crunching numbers, getting the right insights out of the data, and customizing and personalizing your your entire outreach approach.
Hmm. Got it. Yeah, I think data is another area. I think Reema, you were talking about your own journey as data professional earlier. I think that's an important one. Maybe we can just spend a minute there because I think both of you have brought it up. Um, so in terms of data, Reema, like obviously you're not necessarily a data professional, so you may not be aware of the typical data analytics tools and your methodologies like the Power BI and SQL and all those things. So, how does one who's, let's say, gotten 5, 10, maybe even slightly more years of experience in sales make sure that they are firstly gathering the right data for their lead generation, for lead nurturing, and for achieving their overall goals? And secondly, after gathering the data, how do they make sure they are analyzing it properly? So, are there certain tools, are there certain methodologies that you would suggest that people focus on for that?
I always tell my team that data talks to you. Data gives you a lot of insight, and that is absolutely true. Also because I have a background, in data analytics and data crunching, marketing to do, which we had to do a lot with data. I have always used data as, the base of making any sales decision, and that I think in sales is very, very important. Uh, and this is true at all levels, at a junior level, at a senior level, and much more important at a say leadership level, that you know how to use data uh, to get insights into sales. So one thing that's very important is finding out trends, both finding out what was happening earlier, and second, using that data to predict what might happen in the future. Very, very important. Not just that, you will also get to understand where your sales is coming from, uh, who are your customers you should be targeting, uh, which is the geography that's giving you more results, so on and so forth. So basically what I'm trying to say is that if you crunch your data, just your sales data, I'm not even talking about any external data, you will get a lot of insights which will help you improve the planning uh, for your next cycle of sales. Uh, that is very, very important. So getting a grasp of data and using that data to get insights is what I'm talking about. That's one thing. Second, you spoke about managing the data. So like I spoke about it earlier also, there are huge databases available now, which was not the case earlier. There are a lot of ways of generating new data. uh, Say for example, if people are visiting your sites, you'll get a lot of data. You go to any social media site, just go to Facebook, put in 2 3 filters, and you'll get that vast database which you can target. So how to optimize the targeting to generate your leads is very, very important, and that is where a lot of AI tools, a lot of marketing campaigns can help you. So as a sales professional, you don't need to know all these tools, because now there are different teams who are helping you work on these data, but you need to know the basic concepts that exist in the market. Take help of the right team. Say for example, if there's a lead generation team, you should go and tell them that why don't you give me data through this Facebook campaign or this LinkedIn campaign, for example. You should be aware of what is happening in the market and use that data to your advantage to get better quality of leads, because and this is especially for B2B sales I'm talking about. The quality of leads really can help you increase your efficiency and improve your times and reduce the whole entire sales cycle. So that is where better data tools can help you. But But using data, like Rahul rightly said, is a must, and it gives you an edge above, anybody else there who's your counterpart or there in the company.
Got it. That's helpful. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about another very commonly discussed issue in the field of sales, which is burnouts, right? I think that's something which may not feel that you need to address it because you are, let's say, doing very well in your sales career, but from what we hear, a lot of folks rethink their entire career strategy because they reach a tipping point of just mental burnout, or sometimes even physical burnout if there are a lot of meetings that they have to do, and because of which they have to be on the road all the time. Um, so sales is one of the, not the only, but one of the more you're more prone careers to a burnout because of the nature of the job. And that can be an hindrance as you're trying to rise up the career ladder. A lot of people actually even want to leave sales because of that reason. So, Rahul, you've obviously been doing sales for a while now. You're leading a large region similar to Reema. And I'm sure it comes with a ton of responsibilities, like with most business head or sales head oriented roles. Um, how do you manage your time, and how do you manage large teams and client relationships, all the multiple priorities that you have to address, in a way that it doesn't lead to sort of a burnout for you or the people on your team at some point?
Mhm, mhm. Um, so yeah, you're very right. So even I've been running around for the last 6 or 7 weeks continuously on meetings, right? Traveling between countries. I traveled at least 4 countries in the last 7 to 8 weeks. Tends to get a little bit repetitive. You tend to feel burnout. So one thing that I'm trying to do, even I am not, completely solve this problem, thing that I'm trying to do is delegation. So after you reach a certain point, you are so used to doing things, everything by yourself, especially when mid-career phase, when you're just transitioning from a sales manager, let's say, to a sales director role. As a sales manager or a senior sales manager, you would tend to do a lot of things by yourself, right? But when you are going to become a sales director, you would be managing more regions, more team, more number of people, more revenue and everything. One thing that you have to train your mind to do is to learn to delegate and also come to terms with the fact that you cannot control everything. Of course, there are going to be bad quarters, good quarters. It's going to be a mix of everything. You need to learn to let go of that fact, right? That you cannot control everything. It's purely a mind game. It takes a lot of effort. You might feel that imposter syndrome, especially when you are newly into a leadership role. You might feel that you're not doing enough. You might try to put more pressure on yourself, and that will actually, in the long run, be detrimental to you. So in a way, you should learn to delegate things, start trusting people, and more importantly, find the right people for that role. So that is more extremely crucial, especially when it comes to recruiting as well as assigning responsibilities, right? So I'm sure some of the times your decisions might backfire, but just learn from your mistakes, move on, find the right person to do the right job for you. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So either you'll get burned out, as you said, even that might even have a physical impact on you, and in the long run, it's extremely detrimental to your mental health and physical health. So learn to delegate, learn to not have control every single time. There are things that are going to be out of control. uh, Basically try to set things in place so that everything can be managed even in your absence, right? So that's a process. It takes time, but you should acknowledge that and start moving towards it. This is one way you can try to avoid the detrimental effects of continuous burnouts or something like that.
Right, right. Yeah, I think those are great points. And one of the things that I was just reminded of when you were saying, that not everything is in your control. And that's so true. There are so many multiple factors that impact, sales decisions and sales goals achievement. It's not going to always be within your control. But I think you have to retain your motivation, you have to retain your sanity, and continue working hard towards the target role, but making sure that you in the process don't get very impacted either physically or mentally. And there's this particular phrase that I got reminded of, which says finding comfort in chaos. A lot of times there is a chaos around you, and it's not just because things are not working. Sometimes things are working so well and they're growing so fast that it's harder to have very structured processes to manage those exponential growth patterns. And sometimes even though you're performing at your peak, things still seem to be out of your control. So how do you retain your comfort, your sanity within that chaos? I think is something like Rahul, you said, is worth thinking about, and delegation is definitely a big part of that game. So thanks for sharing that. Reema, any thoughts from you on this? Because again, I'm sure you must have had some of your own learnings given your long-term career in sales today, and especially at a company like Oyo, which has seen a lot of ups and downs and also a tremendous amount of growth over the last few years.
Like you rightly said, burnout in sales is a real reality. Because of the kind of targets, especially now. When you're working in a lot of startups, the targets are not a simple 10% growth. These are exponential numbers, like 2x, 3x. So the kind of targets that you're seeing, the kind of growth you're chasing, sales burnout has become a reality. But what personally for me helps, getting burnout is one, when you're chasing. So the thing is, when you're chasing these uh, unrealistic targets, you will have to go out of your way. You will have to put extra efforts. You will have to put extra energy. How do you keep yourself motivated? How you prevent burnout is something uh, that you have to realize going on the way. So, like during your journey, you realize that today is the day I think I need to rest, take a break, and not work. It's okay. I've been running for the last 5 days. Uh, I can run another 2 days, but maybe I don't. Maybe that is reducing my efficiency. So you have to be very self-aware of, how you are performing, how you are reacting to situations, how fast your mind is working on solutions. That will give you a sense of uh, how fatigue is hitting you, how responsive you are, and what is your efficiency quotient. So being self-aware of your fatigue levels are very important. And anytime you feel that you need to stop, take a break, please do that. Doesn't matter what the targets are, your efficiency will improve post your break. uh, that's one thing. Secondly, what I think helps me get to those targets, get to those unrealistic targets, is a lot of planning. uh, I think when the targets are huge, when things are going rough, I need to go back to the drawing board and plan things out. So it can be, deciding where your next sales is coming from, what are the gaps that are there in your sales target achievement, how your funnel is looking. Can I explore different territories? Can I improve the conversion of funneling? Just trying out new ways, understanding, where you're going wrong. Maybe there is a particular customer you are chasing too much, he's not responding, maybe it's time to let go. That is another thing that is very difficult for a salesperson, because there's that tipping point. You think you have put in so much effort, just a little more effort will convert him, but that tipping point is not really the tipping point that you'll see in the next hour. So maybe you need to let go of things, maybe you need to find different customers you can target. So what I'm saying is, going back to the drawing board, doing a little bit more planning will help you. Uh, Second thing that helps me whenever I'm, feeling a little burnout, is going back to my people. I get a lot of energy from my team. Uh, and there is a probability that if you are feeling burnt out, they are also feeling burnt out, because at some level or the other, you have passed on your stress to them, or they have passed on their stress to you. So it happens both ways. For me, I think most of the times my team gives me more stress than I give them, but it's true both ways. A lot of times when you're feeling burnt out, uh, just go to them, take a day off, take them out, Even if you can't do that, like for me, it's a virtual environment. I'm sitting in one city, my other salespeople are sitting in a different country sometimes. So maybe you just need to talk, banter, maybe abuse everyone, just get it out of your system. Helps you feel a little better. And third thing is, like I keep telling my people, there is no easy sales. So don't think, if this sale did not happen, it's the world is going to shatter. Oh, how will I do my targets? There is no easy sale. Even if a customer who you think will get converted, next day will stop answering your call. That is also another reality. So it's okay. Just be perseverant, uh, keep pursuing, maybe the same customer, maybe a different customer. Don't give up. That is very important. And that, again, that attitude of not giving up, having just a little positive attitude when everything is going wrong, again, helps me, keep going, prevent the whole burnout, and, start the month again. And the problem with salespeople, not the problem, the reality rather, is that, every month you have to start with zero. It's not like you had a great month and then you start with 100% achievement. No, you start
In
from
fact,
zero.
your targets become
Days
even
and
harder if you have been. So if you're doing well, I think your targets also start to reflect that, and
yeah.
gets baked into that. But yeah, no, please finish
Yes.
up.
So yeah, so that's all. That's what I'm saying. So the thing is that don't give up. Just get up every morning with a smile, and things will look better.
Yeah. No, a lot of good small nuggets of wisdom there. I think the part around again just going out with your team or sort of letting it out. I think that's a very simple but very very pertinent advice. I think a lot of times when you're in the rut of working very hard, you forget to take a pause and you forget to relax and just find some moment of levity or some moment of recreation within your team. But I feel like there's one thing that I have learned from sales professionals around me is how to balance that well. I think the most successful sales leaders are very good at that. They know when to take a pause from work and shift gears, make people more lighthearted, and then bring back that same energy, and recharge yourself the next day. I think that's something that definitely a lot of good sales leaders bring to the table. Now, the other topic that I wanted to address in this discussion, which is usually the core of our discussion for most of these workshops, is navigating the jobs market, and how companies are making hiring decisions right now, so that people who have joined and would be seeing this recording, they can understand how they can adapt their own job search strategy to maximize their chances of landing their target role, right? So we'll get into that. And just side note to anybody who's still here, we will be taking up any questions from you in just a matter of moments. I think we'll go through this one last round of topic discussion, and then if you have any questions, feel free to share those in the chat section, or you can also come up to the stage, unmute yourself, and ask a question to Reema and Rahul as well. So do stay and do ask questions. Now, just coming back to what I was going to discuss with regard to the job market. So Rahul, it's obviously no mystery, no secret that the current job market is very employer friendly. There are many more candidates in the job market than there are openings. Even though what we have seen is over the last few years, the number of openings have improved. Since at least 22 and 23, there's more hiring activity happening, but the pace at which candidates supply side has increased is even larger, right? So if there has been, let's say, doubling of number of openings, there's been triple or quadruple the number of candidates in the market, and that's because of the layoffs, because of the more uh, voluntary transitions that are taking place. So basic question here is, if I am a person who's thinking about changing companies, or like we were discussing earlier, going from a non-tech to a tech, what are some of the things I can do to improve my chances of landing that role better in today's market, especially obviously for sales professionals at a mid-level, let's say
Mhm.
around 8 to 12 years experience?
Okay. See, so when you decide to change a role, what I would always suggest is be very clear why you want to change it. Um, Especially if you're going to change, as you mentioned, right? People trying to change industries. So you will be obviously hit with the question of why. Why do you want to make a change when you have like 10, 12 years of experience in working in a certain industry? So try to introspect, get answers. You answer yourself first. Why you actually want to make that change. So even through Pivot, I've had many candidates, coming out asking for suggestions on how to go about this. The thing that I tell them is, sit down, think for some time. Why do you really want to change it? Just don't change into a new industry just because it's the buzzword. For example, SaaS, AI. Just because that technology or the industry is popular in the market, don't go blindly behind it. So
Hmm.
have solid reasons of why you want to make the change. That's one. Next, you got to network a lot. So in your with 10, 12 years of experience, you would have built a significant network, right? I'm not talking only about LinkedIn, I'm talking about offline networks as well. You would have interacted with many customers, many partners, resellers, a whole ecosystem of people, right? Try to go through your network, find the right people, especially when you're in a mid career moving towards a senior role, rather than just blindly applying for that role. Having a referral or someone who's already in your target organization saying, or prioritizing your resume certainly helps a lot. So polish your cold outreach skills. Reach out to people on LinkedIn, the right people on LinkedIn. And when you reach out to them again, uh, you should be you should have solid answers on why you're applying for this new company, what you have been doing in this role. So be very clear on why they should refer you. Just because you reach them out to on LinkedIn, most of them won't refer it, right? So they should really see the value in your experience, and you should be able to present that value to whoever you're reaching out. So
Hmm.
that aspect is very important. So I got many messages on LinkedIn, you know, just one liner saying that I found this role in your company, please refer me to this role.
Hmm.
The basic question is why? Why should I
Right.
refer you? I haven't really told me why this role interests you and why you're looking for this change. So when you're reaching out, have some justifiable reason, which will at least, convince me to give the resume to HR to at least take a look,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you be prepared when you're making a transition or changing a role,
Right.
right? Especially when you're looking for a senior role in sales.
Right, absolutely. And Rahul, that's actually a very good point to raise with regard to the referrals because, in the current job market, one thing we have seen is job portals are not always working, right? So if you just apply cold on LinkedIn and Naukri and IM jobs and all, I mean, companies are posting there, but because of the volume of applicants they get there, or maybe the recruitment systems not being able to handle the load, whatever it is, but 90%, 95% of people don't hear back at all within the first 2 months of the job search almost, right? And
Right.
because of that, I think people had to resort to more and more networking, more and more building connections with new people, so people not necessarily in their industry. And LinkedIn has become this sort of cesspool of people reaching out for referrals on a cold outreach basis. But the basic error they make, which is exactly what you pointed out, is not sharing any context, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest misfortune of this whole thing because it's good that you are networking. It's good you are reaching out to people. And it's good to kind of diversify your job search strategy beyond just the portals. All of those things are good. But where they are really lacking is not knowing how to contextualize their
Yeah.
alignment, their fitment with the target role that they are reaching out to you for. So I think that's something that we are also trying to solve for through Pivot, where you do have connections on a more one-on-one personalized basis and people can share a bit more. And there's no mandatory requirement that you would still refer them or any person who they are connected to would refer them. But at least it gives an opportunity for two people to really connect and understand better whether you would be a good fit for the new role. I'm very grateful to a lot of the industry experts who partner with us and provide referrals on a voluntary basis whenever they think there is a good fit. But Rima, just to loop you into this conversation, right? I mean, you can maybe, if you have had any experience, I'm sure people are reaching out to you over LinkedIn and other platforms as well. But what do you think people should do in the current job market to, improve the success rate? If there's anything on the networking front, please feel free to share that. And apart from that, if you have anything, that people can do, which maybe you have seen as a hiring manager work well, would love to understand that.
Right. No, so one point Rahul rightly said, and I second that, is that referrals work the best. If there's somebody inside the industry or outside who's referring you, the chances of you getting shortlisted for an interview become multifold. So it's very important to see if there is any connect you can get with the hiring manager or somebody in the same company. Uh, that'll really, improve your chances of getting selected. So what I would recommend people to do is, again, like you rightly said, a lot of people keep reaching out to you, uh, sometimes without context, sometimes just sending their resume over, or just asking whether, if there's an opening or not. I think what people should do is, they should be aware of the trends that are going on. It's very easy. You go to LinkedIn, you will see who is hiring. You go to any job search, you will know which company is hiring. So based on that, you should reach out to people. If I am not hiring, but I get 10 resumes, it'll just keep lying in my inbox. But if I am the hiring manager and I'm looking out for people, it is difficult to get the right type of people as well. And then that is the moment you approach me, the chances of me reading your mail or replying back to you are much higher. So one thing I would recommend everybody is to keep a lookout of who's hiring, what is the trend in the industry, which is the industry uh, that's growing or rehiring, which are the companies that have got, especially when it comes to startups, have got a second round of funding, therefore they might be hiring, which are the companies that have taken a aggressive growth target. Uh, just go to any job portal, see which company is hiring. Go to the hiring managers post. Half of the HR people write on their posts, whether they are hiring or not. And based on the, companies they are hiring, find the right referral and refer through that. It is very good if you know a person, that will be really helpful. But even if you don't know a person and you're doing a cold outreach, outreach to a company or a person who's hiring rather than just blindly outreaching. If you don't find anyone and you have your dream job and you have to send your resume, then modify, alter your resume to fit that particular profile, because like we spoke about, a lot of data tools in sales, the HR is also using a lot of data tools to select resumes now. So what they might be doing is picking up some keywords. So ensure if you're applying for a job, where you don't have a referral, just put those keywords in your resume so that you get shortlisted, or increase your chances of getting shortlisted. So these are the two things that I think will help people in, if not getting that job, but landing up for an interview.
Right. No, I think fair points. I think the targeted outreach point is very, very critical, Rima. I think when you're reaching out and spending so much time on, crafting those messages, selecting people, you might as well have some method to the madness, right? Rather than just randomly pinging people. And sometimes I feel like, a lot of folks, whether they have been misguided or that's their natural tendency, they just think quantity is more important than quality, right? So what happens is they kind of target sending tens of messages in a day, but they would be copied pasted. They won't have any context. They won't spend much time, like you said, thinking whether this is the right company or the right person to reach out to. So I think the more we can think about, improving the quality of the outreach before we start scaling things. I mean, it's kind of like, how a typical startup journey is. When you start a startup, you don't immediately want to scale. You first want to see what's working in terms of your solutions and what's not working. And then once you have figured out what's working, maybe you get, one or two responses from people showing interest in your, candidacy. At that point you start to understand better, okay, this is the strategy that I should be using, and now I can reach out to more people, just maybe tailoring my messages a little. So I think that part of your networking tip is very, very helpful. And I hope more and more people do that because it has the potential to really change your career outcomes and job search outcomes. And the other part I think is also important. You ended it by saying at least landing interviews. So can we quickly just discuss that as well? And Rima, since you finished it off last, maybe I can just, if you have a train of thought there, feel free to continue. Ki, what are some of the things that you feel people should do, especially to prepare for mid to senior sales interviews when they're trying to, let's say, become a manager or a leader, handling large teams? What are some of the things that differentiate the best sales professionals from the average ones?
Uh, So every interviewer who is interviewing you is looking for certain traits in you. Uh, Personally, I feel that he will, through his questions, uh, try to find out whether you have those traits or not, and also in the whole process find out whether there are certain traits you have that are a big no for him. So it works both ways. Uh, a lot of time, the question answering begins with your career journey. And that's what I tell anybody who comes to me for interview advice. Your interview will depend on how you give your career journey, because the second question that follow will be through between somewhere here. So when you're telling or talking about your career journey, talk about the things that you want to talk about. Do not talk about the things that while you might have done but you don't want to talk about, because your second question most likely is going to come from there. So it's very important to be truthful, because you might fumble and a good interviewer will catch you. Be truthful. uh, Say what you want to say, just talk about those points. uh, be prepared for any kind of questions that's related to your career journey. There are questions that are uh, beyond what you know. It's okay not to know them. If they ask you about, say, the trend in some industry, nobody will expect you to know everything. But if you're being asked about your career journey, you should know everything. Say, for example, if like this happened yesterday, I was interviewing someone for a sales role and I asked him his conversion funnel, what was the lead? Because people will ask a lot of questions. They want to know how thorough you are with your work. You should be on top of things. You should know your work thoroughly well, that if anybody asks any question, you should be able to answer that. That's very important. While the traits they are looking for, they will. You cannot fake it. There are people who are good at faking at certain level, but uh, it's better. Personally, I think it's better to be truthful about a lot of things you have done, what you feel, how you would function, because a lot of questions will be behavioral, where you will be given situations and you will have to tell how you would react to them, or how you would go about doing the solutioning. So it's better to give your own solution the way you would react, rather than a copy paste answer from something you read up on the internet, because you will get caught in that. So I think these are the things that uh, I look for, or any interviewer will look for when they are interviewing you.
Understood. Rahul, so we don't have a lot of time left, and just want to make sure that we cover all the most important points, especially with regard to job search, landing your target role. Anything else that you would like to share, whether it's on the interview front or things that people should just generally keep in mind as they are navigating the complexity of job changes and career transitions today?
No, and adding to what Rima said, right? So be very comfortable and strong in the fundamentals of your job. So if you're in a sales role, right from a lead stage up to the closure, be sure of what all goes there, right? So if someone is going to ask you what is going to be the conversion rate, what is the drop rate of customers, what is the closure win rate, deal lose rate, be strong with those numbers, because when you're applying for a role, it's a general number, right? If you're not done it, tell them that you're not done it. But if you're done it, be very clear about the numbers, because you can't really fake them, because everyone has been through that, so we will know eventually. And second, as Rima said, plot out your career journey, especially the last one or two jobs before the one that you're applying. Mostly your current job and the previous job are more important to highlight, especially if you have a lot of experience of 15, 20 years. You don't need to go back all the way. your last 5 years or 7 years are very important. Um, you yourself put out questions like what is your biggest accomplishment, what has been your biggest challenge in your current role. Spend some time, a month or two, come up with answers for these questions. Try practicing them with a friend or by yourself. Record it on a video webcam. Start playing out the answers. See how it sounds in your ear. Make changes wherever is required. Or rather, if you have a good friend, you can practice this kind of conversations with your friend. That helps you become more comfortable when these questions get thrown around at you during an interview. So basically, be very thorough of what you put in your resume, because that is what is going to drive the entire interview process.
Perfect. Great. That's very helpful. And just, before we wrap up, and I know everybody is very excited for the game that's starting, but just one question that I wanted to ask both of you very quickly. Reema, what's the one tool that you would recommend every sales professional at especially a mid to senior level should look into that would help them, really be more productive or do their work more effectively? You're on mute, Reema, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's the pipeline management tool that, everywhere. In fact, Zoho has a very good tool that I would recommend people. But, there's Salesforce, but any pipeline management tool is a must. And while people can have data in their head or in Excels, but no, that not as efficient.
Perfect. Great. I'm sure Rahul is very happy to hear that. So, Rahul, any specific tool that you would recommend? And it can't be Zoho this time. Has to be something else.
So any tool which helps you to prioritize your tasks, anything like that. So generally, what I do is I have a overall set of goals that I want to do for a quarter. I break it down into months, and further I break it down into weeks. So at the start of each week, I'll try to see prioritize it, the action items, see which activities that I need to do for a week. If it gets done, good. If it doesn't get done, postpone it to next week. Try to finish it as early as possible. That helps you to, as you put it earlier, get some method into the madness. So any sort of such tool should be a great help for you.
All right. So, pipeline management and prioritization tools. I think that's a great note to end this session on. I just want to thank everybody again for